Hey, I'm Dark North. In this video, I'll be talking about the best weapons for Ganyu DPS and support. As always, the timestamps are in the description, so feel free to skip to any part you find interesting. Before we start, we'll be taking into account damage numbers calculated with no substats on artifacts and just using the main stat of the artifacts and set bonuses. It also does not include any food buffs or resonance, so we can evaluate these weapons fairly. Big thanks to Karen56 on Reddit for creating this spreadsheet and crunching these numbers. I'll leave a link to their Reddit and the spreadsheet in the description, and you can take a look at it yourself if you want. Let's start with the weapons for DPS Ganyu, starting with the two 5-star bows. The first is the Amos Bow. Its secondary stat is attack percent and the passive increases normal and charge attack damage by 12% and further increases its damage by 8% every 0.1 second. The arrow is in the air, stacking for up to 5 times for a total of 40% increase in damage. The in-game description is just badly translated and is not actually the case. This travel time based damage increase is why it's broken on Ganyu, as her bloom, which has the highest damage multiplier in her entire kit, is considered part of her charge shot and is affected by the Amos Bow stacks. And because it is delayed, even at point blank range, it gets at least 3 stacks of the Amos Bow, which is 24%. It's almost as if Ganyu's kit was designed to work perfectly with the Amos Bow. It is absolutely broken on Ganyu, and if you have both Ganyu and Amos Bow, you should use it on her and have fun one-shotting mobs around the map. The Amos Bow completely outdamages all the other bows that are in the game as of making this video and is her best in slot. The second is the Skyward Harp. It gives crit rate as its substat and the passive gives a flat 20% crit damage, and every hit has a 60% chance to inflict a small AoE attack dealing 125% physical attack damage every 4 seconds. The Skyward Harp does less damage than the Amos Bow on charge shots, but it will give you much higher damage on her E and ultimate, and it still outdamages all the other 4-star options at the same refinement. So if this is the only 5-star bow you have, you can feel free to use it on Ganyu over the 4-star options. Let's move on to the 4-star options. The first is the craftable prototype Crescent. It is very good on Ganyu and is the only non-gacha option. It gives attack percent as its secondary stat, and the passive increases movement speed by 10% and attack by 36% for 10 seconds if your charge shot hits a weak point. It outdamages all the other 4-star options, assuming all the bows proc their passives. Even on the assumption that no passives are proc, it still outdamages the Blackcliff Warbow and is only slightly outdamaged by the Viridescent Hunt at the same refinements. The downside of this is that some enemies do not have a weak point and you simply cannot proc its passive, or you might just miss. But considering the damage is still very high without proccing the passive, this isn't that big of a downside. And if you can't afford the battle pass or you don't have any star glitter to buy the Blackcliff Warbow, this is the only option you have for DPS charge shot Ganyu. The next weapon is Blackcliff Warbow, which can be bought from the monthly rotation of Paimon shop with star glitter. Its secondary stat gives crit damage and the passive gives you 12% attack for 30 seconds after defeating an enemy, and it can stack up to 3 times. The damage is only slightly lower than Crescent and overall has a similar damage compared to the battle pass bow. The downside is you can't proc the passive in a 1v1 situation and it's just a dead weight. If you don't have a prototype and you can't buy the battle pass but you have star glitter, this is your best option. The next weapon is the Viridescent Hunt, which gives crit rate as its second stat, and the passive creates a cyclone on hit which sucks in enemies and deals 40% of attack as damage to these enemies every 0.5 seconds for 4 seconds. This can proc every 14 seconds, basically a mini venti in a bow. The damage is very similar to the other two 4-star options, the prototype Crescent and Blackcliff Warbow, so if you don't have a prototype or star glitter, this is your option. The passive is arguably more useful in practice than the other two bows in my opinion, as grouping and temporarily immobilizing the enemies makes it easier to shoot them with charge shots. Overall, all the 4-star options have damage in a similar range, so it just comes down to what you already have or what's more accessible to you. Now let's talk about the best support weapons for Ganyu. The Skyward Harp is the best support weapon for Ganyu, winning over the Amos Bow this time. It gives crit rate, crit damage, the passive does extra damage, and it boosts her overall burst and E damage. It outdamages basically every other bow for support Ganyu. The Amos Bow is a good stat stick, but if you have the Amos Bow, might as well just build her as a DPS. It feels like a waste to use Amos Bow as a support weapon on Ganyu. Let's move on to the 4-star options. The first is the Stringless, which is the best 4-star support bow for Ganyu. It gives EM as a second stat, and the passive gives you 24% damage increase for your elemental skill and burst, which is perfect for a support Ganyu. If you have the Stringless, it's basically the best option to increase the damage of your Ganyu's ultimate. The second best option would be the Battle Pass weapon, the Viridescent Hunt. It gives crit rate as a second stat, and the passive groups enemies together, resulting in each of Ganyu's ultimate spikes hitting multiple enemies, increasing her damage. If you can get the Battle Pass or you already have one, this is a very good support bow for Ganyu, which can also be used as a DPS bow in the future if you want to switch or if you want to go for a hybrid build. If you want to know more about Ganyu builds, you can check out the video I made recently going over all of her builds, including DPS support and hybrid. The third option is the Favonius Warbow, which you get for free after finishing Mondstadt's Archon quest. The Favonius Warbow gives ER as its second stat and gives you 6 energy when you crit every 12 seconds at Refinement 1. This energy is given to the entire team, making it a very good support weapon. And on Ganyu, who has no cooldown on her ultimate, with this bow you're gonna have her ultimate up practically all the time, and your team will also get a lot of energy because of the Favonius passive, giving your team a high uptime on their ults, as Ganyu can act as a battery. That's it with this video. If you found this helpful, consider leaving a like and subscribe for more videos like these.